Welcome to another edition of Angela's Cats Join Us for Gaming Questions. So once again, Las Vegas's own Wizard of Odds, Michael Shackelford, is here with me, Angela. And today what we're going to talk about are the frequently asked questions about video poker. So quite interested in this. I know some of you may have already seen our video that deals with frequently asked questions with either slot machines, or there'll also be a blackjack video on that. But let's get into some about video poker.
You got it.
So,
I love video poker. We talk about it all day long.
Excellent.
But I'll try to keep my answers short.
Okay.
But before we get into it, can you introduce the audience to your cats?
Absolutely. So these are my two Munchkin cats, and the one in the necktie is Luna Bean, and then over here is her sister Loki Woo. And they're sisters, but from two different litters, so same set of parents, but 6 months apart. And yes, they do have exceptionally tiny legs, and yes, they are exceptionally kitten-like, but they are full-grown adult cats. So
and do people ever compare them to weenie dogs?
Yes, all the time. Yes, they're definitely the weenie dogs of the cat world. So very social, very sweet animals, and I don't know how long they'll be here with us, but they're cats. They kind of do what they want. So hopefully no one's allergic to cat fur through the video.
Okay, well,
to business.
Yes, do you have a... What's your first question about video poker?
I do. So my very first question about video poker is, how do video poker machines work?
That's a great question. You hear all kinds of nonsense about it on the casino floor from players.
Yep.
But the answer is really quite simple. They are designed the same way it would be as if I was dealing to you with an actual deck of cards. For example, in basic draw poker, otherwise known as night jacks or better, I'm going to have a 52 card deck. I'm going to shuffle it fairly, and then I'm going to give you 5 random cards. And as you know from the game, keep any ones you wish, discard the rest, and then with the remaining 47 cards, I'm going to deal random cards to replace those cards that you discarded.
Okay.
So there's really no trickery. A lot of people think that the games are cheating or that your win is predestined. No, the game doesn't need to cheat. It's the way it's done here in Nevada. It's completely fair, and by law in Nevada, any video representation of a card game or a dice game must have the same natural probabilities as if a human being were fairly dealing that game.
Okay. Although I caught something that you said there. You said in Nevada.
Yeah.
So now does that mean that these games throughout like the rest of the USA aren't fair?
Yes, this is getting to another frequently asked question about video poker, but not every jurisdiction deals it that way that I just described, like they do here in Nevada. In particular, there are things called VLTs, or video lottery terminals, that are basically lottery games skinned like a video poker game. And the way those might work is you make a bet, and your actual outcome is determined kind of like a scratch card, where your win is predestined. And then it will just show you some cards, probably where the right decision is really obvious, leading to whatever the game predestined you to get. And yeah, and again, those, while they may look like video poker machines, they're not. And how can you tell the difference, you might ask? Well, you might see signage. Like, these machines are more so found on the East Coast and in Canada. But if you see signage like these machines are lottery machines, or if you just read the help screens and it just mentions that it's really a lottery game, then that's probably what's going on. And yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, again, those are VLTs. You won't find those here in Nevada, and it's not legitimate video poker.
Oh, well, that's an interesting start. Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mike, so you did just say that the cards are dealt fairly on a video poker machine, just as if we were sitting at a table. But so does that mean that it does or doesn't matter what cards I hold and what cards I throw away?
Oh, it absolutely matters. Like the Gambler song says, you got to know when to hold them and know when to throw away. It's really important to know proper video poker strategy, which is all about what cards to throw away in any given situation. And, you know, a common borderline play, for example, might be, do you keep a high pair or 3 to a royal? And no matter which way you pick, you will get random cards on the outcome. And the right play is determined by just mathematically cycling through all the way those replacement cards could come out, what you would win with each combination, and figuring out which is the average win both ways. And there's 32 ways you could play any given hand, although usually the best play is obvious, or it's between one of two. So yeah, it's really important to playing video poker well, what cards you keep and what you throw away.
Excellent. So just get rid of that idea that it was predestined. It really is on your way.
Absolutely not. Video poker is definitely a game of skill, and you will get punished if you don't implement some skill.
So I know you're a big fan of using a player's card in slot machines in general to get the comps and things like that.
Yes.
But when it comes to video poker, if I use that player's card, is it going to change my odds?
No. It will not change your odds at all. The mechanism that determines the cards you get is completely independent of the mechanism that tracks your play for player card purposes. But you absolutely should use that player card in any form of gambling, because you do get points, you will get comps back, and it's like throwing away the mailers, the free rooms, the free play, whatever you might get. The rule of thumb in the industry is they will offer you back about 1/3 of the value of your play to them. So why throw away that 1/3? You know, there is no downside to not using a player card. Absolutely put that in there.
All right, definitely. I will then.
Thanks, Angela.
So when I sidle up to my video poker machine and I put in my player's card, and then I open up the screen that's got the pay table on it, or I look down where the pay table is. Does the pay table make any difference whatsoever?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yes, yes. The pay table is super important. There's two things that determine how much you're going to win in the long run with video poker. It's how well you play and that pay table. So it definitely pays to shop around for the good pay tables, and they do vary a lot. For example, with basic 9-6, with basic jacks or better, you get a payback of 99.54%. if your full house pays 9 and your flush pays 6, that's what's called 9-6. And it goes all the way down to about 95% if the full house pays 6 and the flush pays 5, like at the Las Vegas airport and some of the stingier Las Vegas casinos. So a good video poker player definitely will shop around for the good pay tables. And there are whole websites devoted to what are the best games and best pay tables at any given casino in the United States.
Well, this is something that's addressed on your website quite frequently.
Yes, this is,
so.
yeah, and yeah.
Subtle plug.
Right. Now, it's not my website that gets into this. There's a really good website called vpfree2.com that endeavors to track the best games at every casino in the United States. And are they always completely up to date? No, but nevertheless, it's still a great resource, especially for what I believe to be a nonprofit website.
Great, thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
So there's so many different games out there. Joker, Poker, and Deuces Wild, and Jacks Are Better, and 9 to 80 billion, and 50 Bison and Cats. So when I see all of these, what are the best games, or what is the best game?
There is no one best game. It all comes back to the pay tables. And so it's not so much the game that matters, but how much each individual hand pays. So at any given casino, the best game might be Jacks Are Better at the Mirage, and it might be bonus poker at Caesar's Palace, and it might be double bonus at the Luxor. It all depends on what pay table they put on each game. And they won't put the same pay table on every single game of that type, for example. Lots of times they will mix it up a little bit and only have a few with the good pay tables and have a lot with, shall we say, stingier pay tables. And the reason they do that is most video poker players incorrectly don't care what the pay table is. They will just plop down and play whatever machine feels lucky to them. Whereas a successful video poker player will hunt down those good pay tables and find them no matter where they are in the casino. So yeah, there is no one best game. You know, it could be anything, like, you know, but it's often Jacks Are Better, double bonus, bonus poker, Deuces or Deuces Wild. But sometimes it's other things like white hot aces, you know, or triple double bonus. It absolutely could be anything. And sometimes casinos make mistakes in in putting out a really generous game with a generous pay table that I think was an error. And sometimes when you find those, it can be great, but usually they don't stick around for too long because the casinos notice when a particular game is paying more than it's supposed to.
Right. So I do understand, based on what you were telling me earlier, that the hands are predestined, and it really matters what I hold and what I throw. Like Kenny Rogers. So what is the strategy then for what cards I hold and what cards I throw?
I could talk all day about this. One could write a whole book about it, but you have to follow a mathematically based video poker strategy. And I have lots of them on my website, but I also have a couple of them here in my book, Gambling 102. I present a fairly simple strategy here for jacks or better, 9-6. And the way any strategy tends to work is that it starts on the bottom with the worst types of hands, like just one high card, and you move up, and basically the higher the position of the hand, the better it is. For example, in jacks or better, if you had a high pair, which is right here, but you could also play it as 3 to a royal, you see the 3 to the royal is listed lower in the strategy, therefore you should hold that high pair and discard any cards to that 3 to the royal. And I know you can't see this, audience, but that is an example of how a video poker strategy works. In my book here, Gambling 102, I also present a strategy for Deuces Wild. But every game has its own strategy, and there are variations to strategy if you really want to be a really outstanding player according to what the pay table is. And also there's no just one strategy for one game. The strategies get more complicated according to how close they get to the optimal strategy. And to know how to play all 2.6 million possible hands, the strategies can get pretty complicated, but you can summarize certain situations into classes, and basically the more summarized the strategy gets, the easier it is to play, but the more mistakes you'll make with it. But nevertheless, the mistakes are pretty minor, like maybe like 0.1% for your typical strategy. So you're just giving up a little bit for the simplicity of an easier strategy to use.
Wow. All right. So get a copy of the book and check out on the website then.
Yep. Yes. On my website, I have what's called a video poker strategy generator. So you can put in any game and any pay table, and it will create a strategy custom made for that game.
Oh, clever little thing, aren't you?
Yes, it's a great feature.
Thanks.
Thanks, Angela.
So I bet I have a pretty solid guess on this one, but I'm going to ask anyway. What has better odds, slot machines or video poker?
Oh, that's an easy one. Video poker by far. Slot machines tend to return only about 90% of the money you bet, whereas video poker, even your average game, is going to be somewhere probably between 98% and 99%. Oh. And if you shop around, you can get up to 99.5% or even higher. Yeah. So you're really pushing close to that 100% with video poker, as opposed to giving up 10% in slot machines. And furthermore, slot machines, I think you play faster, so you're losing your money faster. And I would say that even if you don't play a proper strategy in video poker, you will still make out better than playing slot machines. So I try to convert slot machine players to video poker every chance I get. I don't know if I've had a convert yet, but I really try. Video poker, if played right, is one of the best games you can play in the casino, and slot machines is probably the worst. Wow,
I can see you as the Reverend of the Church of VP, so...
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, thanks, Angela.
Alright, so for my next question, I'm going to magically produce a deck of cards here, because I think it'll be easier if you can show me, so that I can understand. But my question has to do with, you said when the initial cards come out, that it's not predestined, but then the replacement cards that you would draw and the ones that you do throw away or fold. Yeah. Well, are those predestined? Because I know this is something that I've heard people say that, that card is already decided. So is it just the next cards off the deck, or it's always going to be that card that replaces? Yeah. So hopefully the actual cards here will help you explain this one to me.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, I get asked this one a lot, is how are those replacement cards determined? And to use actual cards as an example, some people think that the game has a specific replacement card for each position, and then it gives you the 5 cards on the deal. So a lot of people think that, let's say that like the correct play here is to hold the 2 suited high cards. So if I hold these 2 and throw away the 2, the 4, and the queen, am I going to get these cards that were specifically, shall we say, underneath the cards that I got on the deal? Or would I get, for example, just the next 3 cards that are in the deck? Now, mathematically, it doesn't make any difference. A random card is a random card. So players shouldn't worry about this in terms of making their strategy decision. But the way the modern machines actually work is the game is shuffling the cards all the time, even when it's not being played. And it's doing this hundreds, maybe thousands of times a second. So the moment you hit deal, the game is going to give you the top 5 cards in the deck at that exact moment. And then while you are deciding what to do, the game is shuffling these other 47 cards. And then at the exact moment, like here you would keep the 3 7s, at the exact moment you click draw, the game is going to stop shuffling and then give you the next 2 cards.
Oh, okay.
So even though there's nothing you can do about it, the exact moment you click draw does affect the cards you get as the replacement cards, as well as the cards on the deal.
Wow.
But yeah, but again, I would like to emphasize it doesn't make any difference, that a random card is a random card.
Okay, that should be the t-shirt slogan of this. The random card is a random card.
Yes, and the programming of it doesn't matter mathematically.
Okay. So I have a question for you that concerns more money than straight up numbers. So when I was working in the casinos, I noticed that when a big jackpot would hit on a video poker machine, somebody would get summoned over and they'd have to give a form to the person, and they'd usually ask for their driver's license. Why do they need a driver's license? What form are they giving them? And what are they taking back from them? Why are they taking some of that money? Is that a tax obligation, or what's going on there?
Yeah, I could talk about this a long time, but to try to keep it short, the law says that with a machine, if you win $1,200 or more, then it necessitates what's called a W-2G form, which is like a W-2 form from earnings, but the G for gambling winnings. And you are expected to declare that on your taxes. And a copy of that gets sent to the IRS, so that if you forget to declare it, the IRS might come back and say, we show that you hit these jackpots, why didn't you declare them? And you may get an audit over that. So yes, $1,200 or more, which is not that big of an amount in my opinion, is, yeah, the casino by law has to get your social security number before they will pay you. And if you don't remember it, or if you refuse to give it, maybe you're not a U.S. citizen and don't have one, then they will withhold taxes from that jackpot and pay you less. And they will still give you a form where if you want to jump through all the legal hoops, maybe you could get that withheld tax back. That depends on what country you're from and a lot of other factors. And another question you might ask is, let's say that I have a losing year, but I had all these jackpots, can I offset those wins with losses? And unfortunately, unless you itemize, meaning using the Schedule A, you can't, because you declare those losses somewhere else in the tax form, and for most people the standard deduction is bigger than all their itemized deductions, so they don't do that. Wow. So yeah, so when playing any kind of a game, you should keep in mind that tax obligation if you get a jackpot.
Well, it makes me almost think that I should look for machines that have a jackpot then of $1,199.
Absolutely.
Is that something that...
And that's something that you actually see. Like with quarter games, normally a jackpot will pay $1,000, but sometimes they will bump that up to $1,199, which is like saying, here's the most you can win, and we're not going to give you that tax form. And so that, I think, is actually a good idea. And also with progressive jackpots, especially on quarter games, I would say that if we put any moral issues aside about tax evasion, that you would be better off getting a jackpot for say 1,175 than 1,225, because with that one that's over 1,200, you are going to get that W-2G and be expected to pay taxes on it.
Right, exactly. And of course, we're not tax attorneys. We're not telling you what to do, except to, of course, pay everything that Uncle Sam wants and to do things exactly right. But it does make sense then. Consult a tax attorney and be aware of the amount that those jackpots are. Like, why give yourself an extra hassle if you don't need to?
Right, absolutely. Yeah, understand the tax law, and I'm not trying to advocate tax evasion.
Of course not.
Right, but at least know what the rules are. That's all I'm saying.
Interesting. I've got one last question that I know there's, well, it's a little bit of a controversial question, so we saved it for last. And that is, what is the tipping etiquette when you win a jackpot in video poker?
Yeah, that's a sensitive question, Angela, but it must get asked.
Yep.
So everyone's going to have a different opinion about this, and audience, feel free to say in the comments below what your opinion is. But my rule of thumb is 0.5% to 2% of the jackpot amount, according to the jackpot itself. The bigger the jackpot, the lower percentage. For example, I think on a $20,000 jackpot, 0.5% is totally reasonable. But if it's just a little bit over, like 1,275 from 1,200, then 2% seems more reasonable. And I know that some people in the comments are going to say, "Mike, you stingy bastard," and other people are going to say, "I don't tip a dime because I didn't ask to get that tax form."
Right.
And you know, there is no right or wrong answer to this. The numbers I just said, I mean, I have hit hundreds of video poker jackpots, so I am not just giving that opinion just out of thin air. I have been in this situation where I was kind of expected to tip lots of times, and those percentages I said, I think are reasonable to what is expected of the people in the slot department, and just common etiquette. Right. So.
Yeah. Well, I'll vouch for you as far as I know you're a very generous tipper to both cocktail servers and food servers and dealers. So I'm gonna vouch for him on that one, guys. But yeah, put in the comments below. Do you tip on a video poker? Is that different for you than a slot machine? I'm very, very curious what you do and who you tip and how much. So
me too.
I would definitely like to see that. So I've never been a slot machine attendant, so I don't have hugely strong opinions on it versus like a table games kind of question. But great. Well, thank you, Mike. I really appreciate that.
Well, I should be thanking you, Angela. So thank you very much for helping me with this video.
It's a pleasure. And thank you to Lou Demise, who actually gave me the Baby Yoda shirt, which is why I'm wearing that. So some of our guys out there in gaming land are also sci-fi guys. So just a quick thanks on that.
Okay, so thanks, audience, for watching. Leave your comments, preferably nice ones, in the comments below. And if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up, or better yet, subscribe to my channel. And Angela and I have lots of other videos on gambling advice, so please watch our other ones.
Great, we'll see you the next time, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks, bye.